Thank you everyone for joining us today and taking some time out of your afternoon for our webinar today, Take Excel Further with Vena. My name is Lauren Hogan and I'm a Regional Marketing Coordinator here at JMT. And we're very excited to have two of our own from JMT joining us today. Megan Mendiola and Nick Renfro, our two solutions consultants. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before I turn it over to them. If you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and submit them into the Q&A section as you think of them. We'll save them all until the end of the presentation, but don't hesitate to submit them as they come. Also, just a reminder that we'll send you both the slides and a recording of today's webinar within 24 hours after it has concluded. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Megan, to get us started.
Thanks so much, Lauren, and hello to everyone today. We just want to thank you all for joining us. I know we have a lot of Vena that we want to jump into today, but first I just want to take a couple of minutes to just explain JMT and our relationship with Vena, just to lay a good foundation for everyone. So at JMT, your mission really is our business. We work only with nonprofit organizations and have so since we were founded. So our entire business is really built on making sure your nonprofit achieves better outcomes through the technology and services that we provide. We have a team filled with members with nonprofit experience and expertise. And I actually want to tell you a little bit more about our CEO and founder, Jackie Tiso. Jackie served as a CFO herself for numerous nonprofit organizations in the New York area and had a good number of experiences with software transitions herself in those organizations. After not being satisfied with those transitions that she experienced in implementations with software companies, she started JMT in 1991 with the sole purpose of helping nonprofits go through these software transitions. From there, JMT has grown to over 2,000 clients from across the country and 4 different offices located in Paterson, Nashville, Austin, and most recently, Melbourne, Australia. Here is just a snapshot of a few of the amazing nonprofits that we work with, and just a few more here for you to look at. Nowhere near all of our amazing nonprofit clients, but just a few to take a look at. It's important to note that we are not a software publisher. We get to choose which softwares we partner with, and we're constantly evaluating the marketplace to determine the best software out there for nonprofits to recommend to you. Here is just a quick snapshot of all the areas in which JMT supports nonprofit organizations. And then here are the software partners that we work with in each of those areas. Today, we're really going to be focusing in on Vena as a budgeting and forecasting tool for nonprofits. So now moving into Vena and budgeting specifically, what has the budget process traditionally looked like for nonprofits and still looks like today in many cases? Well, it typically involves using a lot of Excel spreadsheets. You can see this picture here, explains it well. But Excel is a tool that almost every finance person knows and loves. It's universal and really easy to work with. However, that does not mean Excel doesn't come with some problems of its own. One of the major ones is lack of collaboration ability. Usually spreadsheets are emailed around to different departments with you as the finance team in charge of trying to get all the department heads to submit their budgets to you, emailing them back and forth, making sure everything looks good before it's up to you, then to put the budget together. So this just creates a significant lengthening of the budgeting process and a lot of frustration for you and the finance team. Excel also is prone to human errors such as incorrect formulas and people editing the wrong cells. However, studies show that finance teams still see Excel as a necessary and irreplaceable tool. This study shows that most departments still use a reliance on Excel for forecasting, reporting, and budgeting. In addition, 84% of firms stated that they keep using Excel as an extension to a dedicated forecasting and budgeting tool that they have implemented. It means they've implemented a budgeting and forecasting tool and they're still using Excel on top of that. So this creates a problem. How do nonprofit finance teams find a way to keep the benefits that Excel provides while eliminating some pain points and errors that we just discussed? Well, no problem. That's because Vena has created the perfect solution. Vena embraces and empowers Excel rather than trying to eliminate it like other budgeting and forecasting tools. It uses the native Excel platform that you're familiar with as its main interface and just adds a plugin that allows for far more robust budgeting and forecasting capabilities. With Vena, you get added collaboration across departments, version control, workflow automation, and more. But I won't let you just take my word for it. I also want you to see more of Vena for yourself. And I'm going to turn it over to the real Vena expert here to tell us a little bit more about it and then show us a live demonstration. So Nick, I'll turn it over to you to tell us more about Vena.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you join us today. As Lauren and Megan said, my name is Nick Renfro, based here in our Nashville, Tennessee office. A little bit about my background, been with JMT for about 10 months now. Before moving into this solutions consultants role, I was actually an implementer for our Vena practice. So implemented around 10 to 12 clients. So got exposure to different organization sizes, budgeting processes. So I know the power of Vena and what it can do for your organization. So we want to start with a bit of a case study on our test database, forward.org. It's a nonprofit organization in this hypothetical universe. And want you to imagine yourself or see your organization with some of these pain points. So time spent by the finance department exporting data for each department, creating different tabs and validating numbers has increased significantly as new entities and departments get created, leaving no time for analysis. Also, versioning and security have been a nightmare as files have been shared to the wrong people multiple times. And the CFO is worried that people mistakenly access sensitive data. Excel workbooks are expanding, and so is the amount of data it contains. As a result, performance issues are being encountered and files are crashing repeatedly. And lastly, the limitations of Excel do not allow for accurate and granular planning. Within the constraints of the worksheets, this leads to formula errors, broken references, and too much time spent on template and report maintenance. So I would imagine that we are all pretty versed in Excel and use it for the different processes of our business. And I'm sure each of us can imagine your work or your organization or your finance team or even yourself having to deal with one of those pain points. And if that's the case, Vena might be a good solution for your organization. So what Vena is going to do is it's going to build a data integration process in this scenario to pull the actual data from Sage Intacct, where you can analyze that in your template. It's going to build these templates that are connected to the cloud database so that you can use one template for all your employees, all your departments, but that are leveraged with user permission and workflows that grant the right level of access to each of the users. And then lastly, we're just going to build centralized templates and reports that use Vena's choose functionality to access the different subsets of the data. And I'm going to show you a little bit how we can use supporting tabs to automate the calculation that goes into certain GLs. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's dive right in to the platform. So unlike most other FP&A tools, this is not one that is done as a executable from your desktop. It's not run as an application. All it requires is that you have internet access, web browser, and that you have Excel on your local device. And as you can see on my screen, I log into the Vena database just like I would any other system. So I'm just going to choose my login. I'm going to click login here. And now I am in my Vena system. So the first thing I want to show you is our process workflow. So as the manager user, I am responsible for setting up this workflow. And you can see I have my start and end nodes, and everything that is in the middle is completely customizable to your organization. Each of these nodes, to these blocks, if you will, represents a different part of your unique process. So whatever the steps are, whatever the tasks are that are required to get your budget from start to finish, we can build in here, and you will be able to have that visibility and approvals every step of the way. So I start here, you can see one of the first tasks I have is my OpEx input. That's isolated by department, and I can see here the employees within my organization that are responsible for that, along with the supporting workers who are going to be providing support to this task as well. I've got the option to configure the dates on when this is due, whether that's a static date or a smart date that automatically generates after a given variable. And I've got the option to put any instructions in here. So I said, please add comments to all your inputs. And then I've got the opportunity to add supporting documentation, whether it's a driver sheet, rate sheets, or any supporting PowerPoints or documentation that you would like to attach to this particular task. You can see here that I've got some red arrows and green arrows, and these just signify the different levels of approvals and rejection. So after one of the contributor or business users inputs their numbers, it goes to their manager or department head to review, and that department head or manager, whoever's responsible for that review, can either kick it back to them with comments on what they need to adjust, or they can approve it, and then that person will be able to go to the next part of the process and begin that work. So this is totally customizable to your organization. You know, if you need to break this out and have multiple processes, one for your regular expenses and one separate for your personnel, it's completely customizable and unique to you, which gives you an additional layer of control and visibility to your budgeting process. Another cool feature about this is what we call this status tracker, and it's simply a dashboard that shows me, as the manager or the admin of my budgeting process, where everything is as of right now. So it's showing me what tasks have been reached, which have been started, which have already have work done in progress, who the reviewer is, and when it's due. So it gives me an additional layer of visibility to track how far along my process is going and allow me to tighten up any loose ends within the organization that may be slowing down progress on getting my budget submitted. Moving here to this contributor tab, this is where your employees, your business or finance users are going to do the majority of their work. So this is broken out into 4 separate sections, each color coded. So the first is what's overdue. So this is going to ping me every time I log in and say, look, my grant revenue, it's overdue. It was due 11 days ago. I need to get this completed. The next portion is the blue to do, which is going to tell me all the open items that I have to complete right now. And it's also showing me the time frame in which they are due. The next portion I am really fond of because it gives me an additional layer of visibility. It's the coming soon tab. So that shows me those tasks and those items in the process that I'm assigned to work on, but it isn't the prime opportunity for me to start working on them just yet. And then of course, down below, I've got my green view only, which shows me the different financial and operational reports that are associated and that I'm able to view, and also any of the inputs that I submit that have been approved, I'll be able to come down here and reference them as well, so they don't just disappear after I submit them. So let's dive right into one of these templates. So if I click this one, it's going to show me similar to what the manager saw in setting up the task. I'm going to be able to see the instructions, my due date, There's no supporting documentation attached to it. And if I was done with this, I could click the submit button and it would tell me that it's currently being reviewed. So I'm just going to check this file out. And you'll see now down at the bottom of my screen that it downloaded as an Excel file. And so this is the most powerful part of Vena, is that it doesn't create a different interface for you to work in. It keeps the Excel that we all know and we love, and it just enhances it with the power of an add-in and the cloud technology that Vena runs upon. So I'm going to open this as normal. I'm sure it's going to pop up on a different screen here. One second. And we are back. So as you can see, it opened my OpEx input template in Excel, but you'll see here at the top of my screen that there is a new tab. So next to my home and insert, page layout, the normal tabs and controls I have within Excel, the add-in creates a new tab called Vena, which gives you additional functions that are connected to the cloud database. So with most templates, when you open it up, you're going to be able to choose which segment of your chart of accounts do you want to budget by or look at. So if I click this choose button, this interface is going to pop up, and this is where I'm able to select which department, entity, location, year, month, if I had it, or project or grant I want to budget by. So whereas you might need multiple spreadsheets to do this in basic Excel, you now only need one template that is enhanced with user permissions and the add-in to do your budgeting. So one template across all departments that's segmented by the permissions and the workflow that we set up. So if I come in here and I'm just gonna choose Department 100, leave everything else the same and click OK. I'm going to see that it's refreshing and pulling the data from the database. And now here is all the data that is associated with this segment of my chart of accounts populating in my Excel sheets. So just to show you that this is not in regular Excel, if I were to take all these numbers, hit delete, I could close this template out, I could shut my computer down, but every time I opened it back up or click this refresh button, it's going to pull the most accurate information from the database back into this template. So here I have my operating expenses, my salaries, my general operating expense groupings, and my travel and meetings. And now it's just like entering data on regular Excel. So I could just enter some numbers in here. I could drag these across and have them auto-populate. If I wanted to put in some formulas, I could do that. And so now when I'm ready to save these values back to the database, I'm not going to click the green floppy disk Control-S save that we typically would in Excel. I'm going to click this big floppy disk on the Vena ribbon called Save Data. And what this is going to do, it's not going to save these values locally to your computer. It's going to save these values back to the database. So if I were to pull up a report, which I'll do in just a few minutes, I would see for this segment, or even at the top level, if I were viewing all departments and all entities, I would be able to drill down and see these numbers entered real time. So wherever you are, wherever your workers may be across the world, as long as they have Excel and the Vena add-in, they'll be able to work and receive real-time updates and real-time visibility into your data from wherever they are. Let's say within this inter-funds transfer, I needed to get a little bit more granular in my budgeting for that. Well, I've got the opportunity to use the Vena ribbon to do what's called inserting line item details. So I can insert a couple lines. I can give them a description, transfer 1, transfer 2, transfer 3. And now I'm able to get more granular and more detailed in my planning and see how these values roll up into that one GL account. So you get a new layer of granular planning with the Vena database, and I can also leave comments and attach different files to this comment column that I have here at the right, and you would be able to reference these in different reports, or if you were accessing the same data in a different template. Here on this travel tab, this is where Vena really comes into handy. So whereas you might need a separate worksheet for this, and then you would have to copy and paste those numbers into one master spreadsheet, here I can use with Vena supporting tabs in Excel to automatically calculate and pull into my GL the values that I am budgeting for, specifically in this instance, travel. So let's say I want to say this is travel for July. Employee's name is going to be Megan Vidiola, traveling from San Francisco to London, 5 nights. We'll take down the price of the rental car, bump up airfare a little bit, and put her at a nice hotel and give her a greater per diem. And so now I can choose how I want to spread this across my GL. If I wanted to just populate in Q1, if I wanted to spread this cost evenly across the year, or if I just wanted to accrue it in that month of July. So I will spread it evenly across the years. Once I hit save data on this and refresh, when I come back to my OpEx template, I'll be able to see those values populate down here for that travel. So you can see here that that total cost of $7,900 that I have over here, it's been automatically divided out across the correct GLs, across the correct time period, and the values are tying out against each other. Last thing I want to show is how Vena integrates well with other systems. So a lot of our clients, they use Sage Intacct as their ERP. Some of them have MIP as their ERP. Vena integrates with both of them and has a direct API integration with Sage Intacct, where we'll set up to pull all your transaction level information from Sage Intacct nightly. With MIP, we can set it up to be automated. It takes a little bit of a more heavy lift, but it is possible, or we can set it up to where you'll just download a file from MIP, click of a button, upload it into Vena, and you'll be able to drill into your actuals. So if I were to drill into this number, I could click this drill transactions. Hopefully it'll work on me. Last webinar I had, it crashed my computer, but crossing my fingers this time. If I wanted to drill into that number, and yeah, it worked. So now I can see that that value for October 2020, that's coming from my OBJ journal. And this is the transaction in Sage Intacct that it's referencing. Whatever fields that are in your ERP system, or even payroll system, because we've set up integrations with that, any of the fields or description fields that you had associated with the transaction, we would be able to pull over into Vena, and you could drill down and get that relevant information at the click of a button. So now that I'm finished with my budget in here, I'm going to save data one more time just to make sure those values are retained in the database. And if I wanted to, and if I was responsible for another department or a project or grant, I could switch my choose option to go work on that one. But for now, I'm finished with this, so I'm just going to exit out. And it's gonna ask me, do I want to check this file back in? And once I click yes, that file has been checked back into the database, and other users are able to access it at that time. Last thing I want to show you before I take any questions is how in our reports, we're able to drill down and get a additional layer of visibility and detail, as well as an audit trail to see where all the changes to the data within the database are occurring. So I'm going to click view on this report. Again, it's going to download as Excel. And now I'm presented with a choose option. So unlike my input template where I was restricted to inputting at the bottom level, here in this report, I'm able to choose at what layer of aggregation do I want to view my data. So I'm just going to leave this at all departments. And I'm going to change my year to 2021. And so here's all my data at the top level for both actuals on the left, budget on the right, and a couple graphs here for an additional layer of visibility. And here is all my data. So I'm just going to expand these columns a little bit. And so see which one it was we were working on. So this enter funds. So I can drill. If I drill down into this, I'm going to be able to see, exactly where these values are coming from. So this first layer is coming from non-project or grant related. Other is coming from project or grant number 150. If I wanted to see exactly where this $1,000 came, I could use my audit trail button or this drill saves button, and it's going to pop up an audit trail and show me, okay, this value was entered by this user in this template on May 13th. And so that's just a high level overview of how Vena takes the spreadsheets and the Excel technology that you are familiar with, and with the power of cloud technology, enhances it to combat a lot of the pain points that specifically nonprofit organizations run into with using basic Excel across their organization. So now I'm going to take some questions from you guys, and then if there's anything else you want to see while you're asking questions, let me know and I can pop back in and show you some more.
Don't forget, you can submit your questions into the Q&A, and we'd love to answer them, or if you think of them later, we are also here to answer them as well following the webinar. So we can just give that a minute or two. And Megan, do you have the slide for the referral program?
I do. Let me pop back in here. Yes.
Awesome. So we hope you're excited to see that you don't have to give up your Excel spreadsheets to gain the cloud-based security and efficiency that a product like Vena brings to the table. We'd love to help you explore it if it is a good idea for your nonprofit. Book a short consultation with our experts by this coming Tuesday, and we'll send you a $10 Starbucks gift card so that you can enjoy a cup of coffee on us while we chat. All you have to do is just visit jmtconsulting.com/book to get in touch with us. And so it doesn't look like we had any questions come through, but Nick and Megan, do you have any last words you would like to say?
I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We hope that you take advantage of just booking a consultation. We just want to learn more about your organization and just see if Vena would be a good fit. So really hope you're able to take advantage of that, and just thank you all for joining today.
Yeah, likewise, I want to echo what Megan said. It was a privilege to be able to present and share with you all today. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any of your questions now during the chat, or feel free to reach out and one of us will reach back out to you. And now we got a question.
Yeah. So we have a question here. It sounds like the budget info, once completed, can be set to write back to Intact. Is that correct? Our organization spends a lot of time with uploads.
Yes, so this is something that we have just included as part of our core implementation package. So for any of our clients who purchase Vena from us with their ERP being Sage Intacct, we will, as included with the services of Vena, create for you a budget export template back to Sage Intacct. So all you have to do is open that report, just like I did the budget versus actuals, save it as a CSV, and then go into your import window within Sage Intacct, and you'll be able to upload your budget already formatted directly into Sage Intacct.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar with that then, and feel free to join us at jmtconsulting.com/book. Thank you so much, Nick and Megan, for your presentation, and thank you everyone for being here today.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Have a
Okay,
great day.
Bye.